what you'd think I was performing. I'm gonna lay one down.
You are listening to Jeff Norton, live from Florida's Nature Coast.
That is right. Good morning, America. America. It is Tuesday, April 4th, 2017, and you are listening to Morning News Radio with your host, Jeff Norton. I am Jeff Norton. We are live. You're listening to us on Red State Talk Radio. Welcome. Welcome. Good morning. Good morning. Man, do we have a show in store for you this morning. But before we do that, let's get to a little bit of business. The phone lines are open. If you'd like to join in the conversation, you can always give us a call at 402-858-1938. You know, this show, I've always said, where you're the pundit. We're not going to bring on any talking heads or anything like that to tell you what you need to know. We wait for you, our listeners, to call in. So if you have the urge, you can call in. The number is 402-858-1938. Wow. What a glorious day. I hope the day ends like it began. For me, kind of peaceful, waking up. You know, it's amazing. For the past two nights, I have, or mornings, I should say, I am not a morning person. I don't think anybody is. I think it's forced upon you. I know people that get up every morning for 5 a.m. because of job or whatever it is. It's kind of forced upon you, but it's one of those things where, you know, when you start waking up without setting the alarm, that's awesome. And that's exactly, last 2 days, that's how it's been for me. I've been waking up about 5 minutes before 5 a.m. with no alarm. I beat the alarm. And so, you know, things are happening for a reason, and that just shows me that it's wakey. Oh, so, you know, today we're going to talk about the elephant in the room, or in this case, the rice in the room, I should say. You know, and we've got that. We've got some entertainment news for you that we'll cover a little bit later on. You know, this is going to be one of those grab bag kind of days. You know, we're just going to go with the flow. And you can always change that flow here at Morning News Radio if you call in. The number is 402-858-1938. 402-858-1938. It is always going to be open topic for you and everything for the next 2 hours as we get you ready to head out the door. And for those that are already on the road, be safe. Keep it between the lines. Make sure that you stop in and get yourself a nice cup of coffee or whatever beverage, non-alcoholic beverage, please. That will help you get your day going. And if you just happen to be next to a Jimmy Hortons or close, within 500 miles, I think that's reasonable. 500 miles of a Jimmy Hortons. Take the extra time and get up there, get yourself a black cup of coffee and a Danish and tell them that Jeff Norton sent you. But, wow. Well, obviously, yes, sir. There's nothing to see here. As we play the cricket sounds from ABC, NBC, you know, all the fake news media. I've come to the conclusion, I hate to say this. No, I don't. I don't hate to say it. It is disgusting to say this. That I actually have come to the point that mainstream media is junk. I know a lot of people out there are like, well, you know, what would you expect? No, I mean, think about it. They did serve a purpose. They did have a purpose in our communities. They were to help inform us, to educate us, to enlighten us. And now they've become nothing but trash. And we need to we need to take them out, drop them in the dumpster. And I'm a firm believer in, mainstream media is just propaganda. It's propaganda for the government. It's propaganda for the New World Order, for the United Nations, whatever. See, they don't care. They're looking at listeners. And if they just do the news in the United States, there's only about 300 million listeners, right? They do the news for the world, there's about 7 billion. So it's all about revenue for them. It's become a profit center. And as long as it's become a profit center, you can expect the type of propaganda that they're putting out. They're filtering it. And the reason why I bring that up is, Rice. Susan Rice, who, Intel director under the Obama administration. It has been reported and probably confirmed. It hasn't been confirmed officially yet, but she is the one that unmasked the names of Donald Trump and his associates. She is the one that requested as late as early. Well, as late, early. I always get those mixed up. It's July of last year. Prior to President Trump even being nominated by the GOP, she unmasked and followed and disseminated. She's the one who requested it, reportedly. And the disturbing part, or the disgusting part in this whole story, because, I think a lot of us knew that this was going on. A lot of us who try to think objectively. And I know it's hard to say, I know there's listeners out there who won't believe this. Especially when it comes to me. See, I'm a libertarian. I don't get into the whole left-right paradigm. I think they're both evil. I think they leapfrog upon each other. They'll sit there and they'll complain about the laws that one passes, but yet they'll be the first ones to use them when they're in power. It's a tit for tat. That's what disgusts me in American politics. And it has become, and I know if you read history, except for President Washington, it has always been that way. A tit for tat. If you read and you kind of study the Constitution, it wasn't like our great leaders, our forefathers, got together, drank a beer, had some Samuel Adams. They didn't have Samuel Adams back there. Samuel Adams was there, but had a beer, and they came to this conclusion called the United States Constitution. The foundation on which this great republic is built. No, it wasn't like that. It wasn't like that at all. It wasn't like they patted each other on the back and there was a lot of fights. You had big states against little states. You had big states who had the industrial interest, and you had the little states who are the farmers, who were, especially after the Revolutionary War. We took out loans. Even way back then, war cost money. So they took out loans. And the big states wanted the little states to use their farmland as collateral so that they can industrialize and grow, so they can get more money. And the little states didn't want that. They don't want to be encumbered by the debts of industry. Sound familiar? So even way back in American history, we've always had conflict in politics. It's always been there. The political body is a crazy beast. Is a crazy beast. But like the legal system, the political body requires honesty. It requires some level of integrity. And that is where we have strayed. it is okay. And I've always said this, and people will argue with me, and I've been put down, and I've been called some names. You only do it once or twice around me. You won't do it in my face. But I've been called a lot of names. But I've said this about Bernie Sanders. I liked Bernie Sanders as a candidate. I did. And I didn't like Bernie Sanders and what he believed in, but I liked him as a candidate. Let me kind of explain a little bit more to you here before you turn a double take. I don't mean to throw a curveball like that at you this early in the morning. One thing I've always said about Bernie Sanders is you knew exactly what you were getting. He didn't mix bones about it whatsoever. You knew what you were going to get with Bernie Sanders if you elected him as president of the United States. You knew that. It wasn't Bernie Sanders who went on the record and said, well, you have to have two opinions, right? You have to have a public and a private opinion when you're in politics. It wasn't Bernie Sanders that said that. You knew exactly where Bernie Sanders stood. You knew what he was going to fight for. You knew exactly. That's integrity. It wasn't a popular. It's becoming more popular. But it wasn't the popular belief of today. But you knew. You knew. Now, I have to say the same thing about Donald Trump. If you take President Trump's bravado and all of the other things and his narcissistic ways, if you took all that, you know what you're getting when he was elected. The American people knew what they were getting. Now, see, the difference is between the right and the left is the left is focused on the negative aspects of Donald Trump, President Trump. The right, the ones that voted for him, are focused on the positive aspects of President Trump. Now you have to ask yourself, where are you at? See, I'm a centralist. See, I look at both the positive and the negative. And I balance them out accordingly. And there's some things that I agree and disagree with President Trump on. But at the end of the day, it's like most things. At the end of the day, you got to look at the totality of his work and then judge him upon that. Yes, he has some character flaws. Who doesn't? We all have character flaws. We've all jumped at it. It's one of those things that haven't you